You start to realize that throughout your life, there was something inside you trying to show you the way, but you were too busy trying to fit in to listen. But there is an important detail. The path to finding the self cannot be walked in isolation. There is a fundamental element in this journey that many ignore: the unconscious and the archetypes that shape the way we think, feel, and behave. If you do not understand these hidden forces, you will never be able to fully comprehend who you are. And that is what we will explore next. The human mind is not just what we see and consciously understand. Most of our psyche is hidden, operating at a deep and invisible level. Jung believed that to find the true self, it is not enough to look at our rational thoughts and daily decisions. We must dive into the depths of the unconscious, for it is there that the hidden patterns that shape our identity are found. But what exactly is in this unconscious? Beyond your shadow, beyond repressed memories and unrecognized desires, there is something even more fundamental: archetypes. Jung discovered that the human psyche is not a blank slate. On the contrary, we are born with universal mental structures, patterns of thought, behavior, and emotion that are shared by all people, regardless of culture or time. He called this the collective unconscious. And it is from this collective unconscious that archetypes emerge, primordial images that influence the way we perceive the world and ourselves. If you have ever felt an inexplicable attraction to certain stories, myths, or symbols, it is because archetypes are acting within you. They appear in fairy tales, movies, religions, and, most importantly, in your own dreams and behaviors. For example, the hero is an archetype present in virtually all cultures. It represents one who faces challenges, overcomes obstacles, and seeks transformation. But there is also the wise one, who symbolizes knowledge and introspection. The rebel, who challenges the rules and questions the system, and the caregiver, who lives to protect and serve others. And the most interesting part? You do not choose which archetypes influence your life. They operate within you without your awareness. The problem arises when you identify only with one archetype and ignore the others. If you only see yourself as the hero, you may end up feeling pressured to always be strong, unable to accept weaknesses or vulnerabilities. If you live solely in the role of the caregiver, you may spend your life putting others' needs above your own, forgetting about yourself. Finding the true self means balancing these archetypes, recognizing which ones dominate your life, and integrating those that have been neglected. But how do these archetypes appear in your life? The answer lies in your dreams, your impulses, the patterns that repeat without you understanding why. And if you ignore them, you will be ignoring essential parts of yourself. That is why so many people feel lost. They do not understand that there are invisible forces shaping their desires, their decisions, and even their existential crises. But here is the most important question. If you do not become aware of these archetypes, they control you. They determine your behaviors, your insecurities, your relationships. But if you recognize and integrate them, you take control of your own narrative. And that is precisely what differentiates those who find their true self from those who spend their entire lives trapped in automatic patterns. But what if you ignore all of this? What happens to someone who refuses to look at the unconscious, who resists individuation and continues to live according to masks and illusions? The answer lies in the psychological suffering that accompanies those who flee from themselves. And that is the danger of non-individuation, which we will explore now. What happens to someone who spends their life running away from themselves? Who ignores their own shadow, lives imprisoned in a persona, and refuses to acknowledge the archetypes that shape their destiny? Carl Jung was clear: avoiding the process of individuation does not keep us safe. Instead, it condemns us to a fragmented existence, filled with anxiety, frustration, and an emptiness that can never be filled by anything external. Many people believe that following society's rules and fitting into what is expected of them will guarantee a peaceful life. But this tranquility is merely superficial. At some point, something begins to go wrong. It may manifest as emotional crises with no apparent explanation, feelings of dissatisfaction even when everything seems perfect, or the emergence of psychosomatic illnesses. The body and mind always find ways to alert us when we are straying too far from our true nature. Non-individuation can also manifest through destructive patterns. Have you ever noticed how some people repeat the same mistakes throughout their lives? How they enter abusive relationships, sabotage their own achievements, or live in a constant state of dissatisfaction? This happens because when we do not deal with what is hidden within us, we become prisoners of our own unconscious. It finds ways to express itself, even if it is through suffering. Another common symptom of non-individuation is the feeling that we are merely existing, but not truly living. This manifests in a monotonous routine, in a life without purpose, in a sense that we are just going with the flow, without a clear direction. This is the reality for millions of people who have never questioned whether the life they lead is truly the life they chose. They follow inherited patterns, imposed beliefs, and external expectations without ever stopping to ask, does this really make me happy? And the most dangerous of all, resentment. When a person ignores who they really are, they inevitably feel anger, but they do not always know where that anger comes from. They may turn against others, blaming the world, the system, their family, or society for their suffering. Or they may turn inward, transforming into depression, self-sabotage, and a deep disconnection from their own existence. But there's a way out. There's a way to break this cycle and free oneself from this invisible prison. The answer lies in the courage to face the truth, to question one's own illusions, and to seek individuation. This process is not easy. It requires strength, determination, and the willingness to look within, even when what we find is not pleasant. And now we come to the crucial point. What does it mean, in practice, to be yourself? What is it like to live without masks, without repression, without fear of external judgment? What happens when you truly find your true self? Let's explore this in our conclusion. Finding your true self is not a destination, but a process. It is not something that happens overnight, as if one day you simply wake up and know exactly who you are. It is a journey that lasts a lifetime, a path of discoveries, deconstruction, and reconstruction, facing the shadows and freeing yourself from the masks that have been imposed on us. And it is a path that few choose to walk. Most people prefer the safety of conformity. They cling to their personas because they believe that without them, they would be rejected. They avoid looking at their shadows because they fear what they will find there. They ignore the archetypes that guide their lives because they do not want to admit that they are not in control as much as they would like. But this fear comes at a cost. An empty existence, lacking authenticity, depth, and real meaning. Jung showed us that true freedom lies not in fitting in, but in becoming who we really are. This means accepting your wholeness, both your qualities and your flaws, both your light and your darkness. It means taking control of your own life, rather than being just a product of your environment, culture, and others' expectations. It means abandoning the role of puppet and becoming the author of your own story. But this path requires courage. Courage to let go of the illusions that have been comfortable for so long. Courage to face your own fears and insecurities. Courage to accept that you may not be who you thought you were, and that's okay, because now you have the opportunity to become someone much greater, much more authentic, much more alive. So I ask you, are you ready for this challenge? Are you willing to question the stories you've been told about who you are? To confront the parts of yourself that have been repressed? To finally live according to your true essence? If something in this video made you reflect, let me know in the comments. What part impacted you the most? Have you ever felt like you were living an identity that wasn't really yours? Let's talk about it. And don't stop here. The next video is essential to deepen this journey and understand even more about the hidden mechanisms that shape your mind. So keep watching, because this discovery is just beginning.